So thanks very much being here. So actually, talking about creativity and teaching creativity, there's a real nice story about two composers walking down in Berlin on a very sunny morning. And there's an open window and a beautiful melody is coming out. And the two composers, they stop and they start to listen carefully. Just a couple of minutes later, one of the guys takes out a little notebook and scribbles down something on the notebook, while the other one is still listening. He said to the other guy, to his friend, "My goodness, did you compose that?" And I said, "Well, just recently I did." So that's a very practical mindset from a point of view as an artist. So artists are really able to combine things, and the story I want to tell you here is about that guy here called Damien Hirst, the British artist. And the 3 points we want to touch is, it's a race of an incredible story in the art world. So how was he really competing with other artists? How did he do it differently? The second one is about the creative attitude, how to boost innovation. How can we think differently again and again and again to come up with new services and products and so on? And finally, I want to touch on two unusual examples how to redefine the business most interesting in a very traditional industry. So welcome to the Damien Hirst story. Well, think about your business intention. So what might that be? Can you reinvent your products? Would you look for the next simple step? That is for an artist like Damien Hirst not enough. So here is a business statement. I can't wait to get into a position to make really bad art and get away with it. What kind of a business statement is that? My goodness, I mean, that is, if you think about, that is in the provocation business. And I think that is a tradition in art since about 100 years. And Damien Hirst was really this guy who was really able to play this out. But how can we do this? How can we do this from a more systematical point of view? And you know, so my wife, she's working for a company, for an internet company with about 80 people, 10 years in the market. She's leading that company. So the young guys are coming in and saying, "Oh, we have to radically innovate that here, this and that, the market." She's always smiling, saying, but how? How can we do this? What is disruptive innovation? We have to disrupt the market. These guys are coming, "Oh, we have to disrupt that." And she's smiling and asking, "Yes, but how? How is a more systematical way?" And this is the story I want to tell you. It's all about to rethink the business along a new who, a new what, and a new how. And I think the Damien Hirst story is a brilliant story we can learn from a lot. So let's start here with the Damien Hirst's art. He was a normal arts student, but then he curated 2 shows. And one of the shows, Saatchi, the advertising guru, came to the show and saw that piece, 1,000 years in 1990. He stood open-mouthed at an advertising guru. What is the plot of that thing here? You see, there's a rotten cow head. So then there are flies breeding here, and they fly over. That's a little bit difficult to see here. There are some holes here. They fly over to that cube. There's sugar. They grow, and they want to breed again, fly back. But unfortunately, here's a dazzling machine here. So they got killed. It's about a life circle. I can tell you, the German visitors were very sensitive about so kind life and death cycles. We had historical discussions in the museum about it. Pure provocation, but Saatchi understood really that that guy is capable to play the game differently. So he has given Damien Hirst carte blanche and said, "Well, I go and invest every single piece of art you're going to produce for the next years. And if you get carte blanche, you're in heaven as an artist." I know it. Because from my point of view as an artist, it could be very heavy and difficult to get funding for your art projects. So somehow they started here with typical glass tank pieces, which is that one. The physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living in 1992. It costs about $6,000, 6,000 pounds for the fish itself, but another 50,000, so all in all it was a 50,000 £50,000 project to do that artwork. £50,000. I mean, incredible to do this, but without financing, it wouldn't be possible. So this is one of the first pieces, one of his production lines he started to develop. He was not so much searching around like a classical artist, oh, what could I paint? He developed production lines. Another one is here that spots and butterfly painting, more classical pieces here, more decoration art, you could say, a little bit, but nicely done with real butterflies here. And then there's another one, the spin paintings here, beautiful career-minded paintings. So when I was young, I still remember the situations of 5-year-olds. We went to the fair and there was a spinning box, a spinning and I looked into it and said, wow, this goes round and round and round quite quickly. Did you make that experience? Have you seen that before? When you have been young, you dropped color onto it. It was spinning quite quickly and it produced something like that. So it was there. It was there since 30, 40 years. But he changed it. He brought it to the market as something new. And let's hope here. Of course he thinks about how can he position his art differently. Beautiful, cheap, shitty, too easy. Anyone can do one big motor-driven, rotor-heaven, corrupt, trashy, bad art shit. Motivating, captivating, over the sofa, celebrating painting. So that's really a long title, so to say. So, and if you're asking what kind of business is Damon Hirst in? The simple answer is in the provocation business. He knows how to play the game. He knows the market. He knows what really pushes his product and his position forward. So, interesting, if you look to the production approach, he had a whole factory. Artist friends helping to produce him that stuff. I've done maybe 5. Huh? They're shit compared to the best person you've ever painted spots for me, Rachel Howard. She's brilliant. The best painting you can have by me is one done by Rachel. And there's a nice story. So there came an artist to him and asked him, Damon, how is it? Can I have one of the spin paintings? I mean, of course, she produced it. And he said, why not? And he said, well, but can you sign it? She was very aware about the brand. It was absolutely clear, even if she made it, it would be a different if his signature is under that piece. So that is really about the product, and probably the peak of that was in 2007, the Metropolitan Show. And if you are an artist, and if you bring your stuff to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, you are in heaven, I promise. There's nothing really above. So he really built a perfect market, and there's a nice video about the curator. He said, oh, it's not about the shark itself, so it's about this concept of art, this is an old shark, and so he is going to build a whole story around that. So they're putting a lot of energy, a lot of sense into pieces like that. So it's a real stage he created, 2007. How is it going on? So let's talk about the customers. So that's Stephen Cohen. You can read a nice comment from Norman Tebbit, the British politician. So he was very skeptical about that. But Stephen Cohen is an investor. And think about it, he has a classical collection with Cézanne, Van Goghs, and so on and so on. But why would a guy like Stephen Cohen really buy stuff like that? Because he knows that is really a very provocative piece. Interesting is, so at the same time he invested in a new shark because the old one was rotten. He invested $12 million into a new shark. So they rebuilt the original piece, they brought this into the Metropolitan Museum of Art, while at the same time another shark appeared on the market. So these guys really know how to build up the market. That was really fantastic, so to say. But together with the repetition of the Metropolitan Museum, that was a wonderful, wonderful business experience, let me call that. So, other investor, Victor Pinchuk, is this right? Pinchuk, is this right, Victor Pinchuk? So, and there is, of course, an anonymous quote from a gallery owner. And the problem is, so let me say, if he or another person like him is buying a yacht and then a colleague is coming over and says, well, I have a yacht as well. So how can you create a difference? Oh, my yacht is maybe a meter longer, that's it. But if you invest into art, that is different. Art is unique, you can make a statement, you can position yourself, you can become a collector, you be a museum owner, you build your own brand, there's a lot you can do as an investor with art. Compare if you just buy something very expensive, like a yacht. So that is about the who. But let's talk about the how. How is Damon Hirst marketing his product? How he's really pushing forward again and again and again. And that is a piece here called The Diamond Encrusted Skull with the title For the Love of God, which came to the market in 2007. And he partnered with his gallery and then brought this into a very beautiful exhibition. So it cost $16 million, just the production cost, but $50 million was the estimated price. So it didn't sell right away, so they had to wait a little bit, and they created a consortium, and Damon Hirst was part of that consortium. Quite amazing. So they built their own market, so to say. And that's a very typical situation for the art market. A high-price art market, how can you push, again, the price on the next level? It was shown at the Rijksmuseum in 2008, one of the most traditional art museums in the world. They were advertising all over the city. So here's a conference here. And the situation, if you enter that very traditional museum, I've been there, you have to bypass all the traditional painters like Van Gogh and so on and Vermeer. And then you're allowed to stand a queue until you have access to this pitch dark room where you see the diamond encrusted skull. And if you want to take out your camera and say, oh, I really like to take a picture, the guard is coming and saying, no, I'm very sorry. You can buy something down at the shop. Very interesting. That really builds a reputation. Absolutely fantastic to say. By the way, there was a next room where he did a show by his own with the classical pieces of the museum. Do you know how long it takes if you become a curator of a museum like the Rijksmuseum, and if you're allowed to build your own show? That probably can take more than 20 years. So Damon Hirst was playing, and I think it's a win-win situation for the museum and for Damon Hirst as well. So, but the clue in 2008 was the Sotheby's auction. Have you heard about the Sotheby's auction with Damon Hirst? He was bypassing his classical galleries like the White Cube Gallery and the Gagosian Gallery, the top galleries, and delivered more than 220 products to the show, to the auction house. Or he said he was just interested to see if he can do it differently a little bit. So the Golden Calf is probably was one of the centerpieces here, and it sold for 10.3 million. Another tiger shark was about 9.8 million pounds in the auction. So finally, 218 artworks got under the hammer, and there was a total price of 111 million all in all. It was never ever done before. Absolutely outstanding. So if you ask, oh, can you partner up with Sotheby's? I probably wouldn't even enter the door and ask them. So that is really price politics. It's quite interesting how a very traditional company like Sotheby's is partnering with the most provocative guy in the artwork to build on his own reputation and also credibility for Damon Hirst, which is most interesting. It's really a win-win situation. So let's summarize this. So Damon Hirst is really going against all rules. He's definitely one of the richest artists, most potentially. He had built a strong brand. It's very clear. It's very clear about the products. He has a position in art history. It's lots and lots of discussions, so we will see this in 20 years from now, how our art historian will discuss this. But by all means, it's really, really a statement. And he's building at the moment, or he built at the moment, his own museum. So that's a different way to summarize this, is to think differently about the who, what, and how. The product, the way to deliver, and the customer. And that is about strategic innovation. Can we think through, can we think about different customers? How do we have to target them? And what is the way how we deliver our products? So this is a question, and I think it's very much something we have to do as a creative mindset. We have to brainstorm again and again how to do this, because this is about newness. It's not that we go and do this with a regular approach to the business. So that's the Damon Hirst story. But let's go forward to the second step, the practical mindset. How can you start to change your mindset? How can you start to think through how to make things differently? And you will see a couple of papers here on the table, and you need them for an exercise in a minute. So disruptive innovation needs risk-taking, of course, and it's a good saying, and creative thinking. So risk-taking, here is a very nice exercise. So the first one is a blank piece. You need a blank piece of paper and a pencil. Okay? A blank piece of paper and a pencil. Not the circle one, a blank piece of paper and a pencil. Yeah? Do we have them here? Or just take the back side, that's fine as well. Okay. Everybody's ready? Piece of paper and a pencil? Okay, here is the task you have to do. Draw a portrait of your neighbor in the given time of 30 seconds. Is everybody ready? Come on, is everybody ready?
Yes!
All right, let's go ahead. Okay, it starts right away. Now, 30 seconds on. Go ahead. Paint a portrait of your neighbor. Do your best. Be courageous. Come on. Oh, that was a quick one here. You have another 10 seconds, maybe a second one, huh? Don't go too much for the conceptual piece. Think about the Rembrandt. I want to raise the bar a little bit here. All right, and the last 5 seconds. Okay. Now it's time to show your masterpiece to your neighbor. Come on, show your masterpiece. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. How is it, huh? All right, so what is this exercise all about? So if we are in the innovation business, if we want to think through, it's not about that we come up with a perfect solution at all. So people have a tendency to go deeper and deeper and deeper, but it doesn't help in the innovation setting, in the innovation dynamic. So what you have to do is you have to come up with quick ideas first, and then show it to your neighbor and say, well, I don't know what this is all about. This was a glimpse of an idea. This was just a first thought. And there you need a setting where people trust each other and play it back. I don't say it doesn't look perfect at all. I mean, of course it's not a Rembrandt, but that's not the point. But I understood how he takes a look at the world, or how he takes a look at the situation. So if you want to think more creatively in a brainstorming session, so push forward and empower your neighbors about the idea and build on each other ideas. So that's about the practical mindset about creativity or creative thinking. So the second one is the other exercise, which is on the page, if you turn the page around. And that is about the playful mindset. So, and now I'm asking you, in the given time of 2 minutes, to change as many circles as possible into different images, okay? So, oops, here we are. Okay. So don't trick me. It's not a concept. Don't write a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not the point. That's conceptual thinking. Think about an image. Imagine a different option. All right? Is everybody ready? All right, so go ahead. 2 minutes. Hands up. Hopefully everybody. Come on. 5 circles. All right. How's it about 10? All right. 15. A couple more. More than 15? Wow. How did you do that? My goodness, tell me. So that's quite interesting.
Drawing something, inspiring, taking the idea to the next picture and refining it, then another idea, refining it, another idea.
Ah, so you take your own examples, you inspire yourself, you go for the next one.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, that's really a creative mindset. That's really something artists do, because they paint a picture and they said, well, something is in it, but something not. And they take the part which is not in it and do another one. So with this, it's not a failure, I wouldn't call it a failure, but there is something you see there's more potential. And you follow up, you can build another idea. Personally, I have to say, I fall in love too often, too early with ideas. So maybe I start with the first, the second, the third circle and say, oh, this is so nice, and I do the details and so on, and then I stop. But this is really all about a variation. This is all about to play with opportunities and to play with different things. And I have that at the moment at a project with the Deutsche Bahn. So we're re-establishing the information counter at the train stations. So they're very old, you have to stand the queue, people have to wait there for a couple of minutes, and there are different levels of information. And we're thinking about, can we change that? How can we change this? And now we see clearly we have one approach which somehow works very well, but we found out it's too traditional. So we made a radical decision and said, well, let's start from zero again and go just to the opposite direction. And this is the circle exercise all about. Somehow you have to think through, you have to be bold about your approach. You have to be convinced about your own piece you created, but then you have to let go. And this is if you start with the innovation process, if you play with the variations, that is most important. So to summarize that here a little bit is what I call the creative competence. So as I said, so explore and play with variations. So it doesn't help you if you stick with the first idea and fall in love too early, because that's too much of the same. And how can you create a setting where you challenge yourself or someone is challenging the group here to push forward for new ideas? And a very practical idea is, it's not the classical brainstorming, but you can really open a space, let people draw their ideas first, put them on the wall to have a real overview of the variety of ideas. So that's something you could do easily. Of course, quantity versus quality is not about does that first drawing is the real thing or not. I mean, and in the innovation situation, in the creative thinking mode, you have to come up constantly with other things. And then later on, you can step back. It's pretty much like an artist is painting at the canvas, and somehow he's very into it, but then he steps back, and he evaluates what is this art about. So deferred judgment, that is probably the hardest thing in organizations, huh? So I have an idea, another one said, but it never worked. But that's not the way if you want to push forward for more radical, more creative thinking, not at all. And I think, so if I look to the Berlin situation with the startups guys, if you come to them, so they're really cool, they really have that ability to push forward and let go of the judgment. They come up with an idea, and people, if people do not like the idea, they say, okay, let's go for another one. But if you're not trained in established organization, it's very, very often very hard to do so. And I do a project with Deutsche Bahn at the moment, so reinventing the information counters at the railway station, and we're challenged, we are really challenged to open up again and again and again. That's most fascinating. Very often we run very quickly into political discussions. Oh, we can't do this for this, this, and that reason. We're good in arguing why we are not able to do it, but we're not good in arguing why or how do we create a difference? And that is a creative mindset, I think. We have to think out, we have to think through how can we create the difference. That's about deferred judgment. And finally, that points it to mental flexibility to think differently. And this is the circle exercise. I mean, come up with variations first. And that's probably the hardest thing. So if you run out of time, and I see this in my project at the moment, if you run out of time, you probably stick to the first solution too early. And that is a risk. So there are a lot of levers you have to think about to build a safe container, to have a kind of a dramaturgy for creative thinking, but also have a timeline when you have to complete things. And this, I call, this is artistic thinking, this is really a dramaturgy we create. All right, let's go forward, think differently to some examples from the business. What would you do if you were in the business of the shaver industry? Let me ask the man here in the room, who shaved in the traditional way this morning?
Traditional, you mean?
It's not the machine, it's not, it's a traditional one. Okay? Quite a few of them. All right. So it's mostly a story of Wilkinson and Gillette. And Wilkinson was the market leader until 1997. He came with this beautiful piece here in the market. And it was a win situation of a plus of 37%. Quite a success, you think. But what happened 1 year later? That situation. Gillette came into the market. Now make an educated guess. How much money they invested into that product? Think for a minute. And give me one or two numbers. What do we think? To invest into something in such an innovation, is it an innovation or in an innovation? How much money did they really spend for that? Any ideas?
50,000.
50,000? All right.
No.
Another one?
More.
4,000?
10 million.
Ah, all right. 10 millions. $50 million. $70 $50 million. I think they had about 8 or 9 patents. Warren Buffett was in the consortium and he didn't know about that project at all because it was so secret. So they put another 300 million into the market situation to market that piece. And then the story is Wilkinson was here, Gillette was on top. And this is going on since 1998. So that was really a big success, but it was done with a lot of money. So if you think more from an innovation point of view, how can you play the things differently? Are there different options? Do you know different options? Okay, I show you one. Why don't we go for the Sapphire Iridium for $100,000? You never have to buy a different blade your lifetime long, but you might think $100,000 is quite a price. I saw that, I looked that story up just for the last couple of days, and I thought myself, wow, $100,000, how are they going to make a business? And there is a difference. They came, I found that advertisement, one of the greatest use of technology over the past few years. I said, well, the Washington Post is writing about that. I mean, are they nuts? $100,000, that's outrageous. But then I looked to the Zafiro Gold and said, well, cool, that's just $18,000. And then I stopped for a moment and said, yeah, are you really, I mean, you know what you're talking about, $18,000? All right, but this is Zafiro Gold. Okay, but now they are in the market with a pre-order, the Set 2 on a Kickstarter campaign, the Zafiro 10 for $199. And then I started to think about, why not? That is really, really cool. Of course, you might buy a blade after 2 or 3 years. I don't care for $199. But they do not invest by themselves. They do it very, very modern in a Kickstarter campaign. So they raise the money, they get the money, and then they start to produce it. Very interesting. So if you target the market completely different from a high segment. Are we still on time? Just one story to tell more. All right. So, but if you think completely differently in the low budget section, there is another example. And you ask me, is it true, that example? Then I showed you the internet page. So 22,298 clicks here on that video. That is the Dollar Shave Club. Our blades are fucking good, sorry. So they came to the market, they became very, very well known for that. And have a look to the video.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are gonna ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're gonna stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
Innovation, thinking differently, thinking creatively. What brand comes to your mind?
Tesla.
Of course, it is Tesla. Do you know how many people pre-ordered the new Tesla 3?
150,000.
More. Just recently, I checked the numbers, it just says 400,000 people. 400,000 people, and everybody paid $1,000 before. They do not know how to do that. I mean, I think the Tesla production was about 90,000 cars last year, so they have a challenge right now. And then,
challenge and demand challenge.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
20
Yeah.
not be delivered.
Yeah, but I mean, it's about really a hype. Everybody, I mean, who can afford such a car? And I think the car goes, the Central goes for about 30,000, maybe 40,000 euros on the market. And so I thought about myself, way. I talked to my wife and said, listen, we're thinking about to buy a new car. And she said, well, it's coming out next year, maybe a year after. So we need a car right now. So unfortunately, we can't buy. But there's a saying in the innovation field, often to succeed sooner, and that is probably what I experience right now with the Deutsche Bahn project. Quite interesting. So we have to come up with a bold idea, but we do not know exactly if it works or not. So we try to work very closely with the customers to see if that is a good idea, if the idea works or not. So be bold and wild. I mean, so we created with the Deutsche Bahn kind of a small group, and we said we want to make a difference. So, and are established organization able to establish something like this, a small group of people who can really think differently? The team be the star. So yeah, I mean, that is probably the most difficult thing to do as a team leader. You're not the person who says, this is the way we go. So because you don't raise the energy, the people do not like to invest somehow into that kind of creative spirit and excitement, in that energy you really need to push forward such a project of innovation. So this is a summary from looking at the Damien Hirst case to redefine the who, the what, and the how. Think systematically through how you can change the game and see, so what is the creative mindset? We saw this with the 2 exercises and finally 2 examples here, how we can change it. And this is all about creative thinking, and I think we can do it all. We can do it all. It's just a matter if we find the right place to try it out. Thank you.